I, 30 female, am a Chinese woman who was adopted from mainland China when I was a baby and grew up in the UK. I grew curious about my roots and if I had a family out there, so I took a 23andMe test. I found 4 full sisters through this test. I'm the oldest. My sisters are 29, 28, 24 and 20. The 3 middle sisters are in America and the youngest is in Germany. We kept in contact via the internet and had even met in person twice before the global issue started. I have 2 brothers I grew up with who are my parents' biological sons, and as far as I'm concerned, they are my parents and my true family. But I've grown close to my biological sisters as we understand each other a lot. My parents know of my birth story. I was found in an alleyway in a box. My sisters were found relatively the same way from what they know, though they were left outside of buildings in public areas. So I'm a bit more bitter than they are about how we were abandoned, as I was left out of the way where I could have been missed. We recently got contacted by a new family member found by the test, an 18-year-old full brother who lives in France with our bio parents. Apparently they moved there later in life. My biological sisters are excited by this and eager to meet them. They want the 5 of us to fly out together to meet our brother and family. I've told them I wouldn't stop them, but I have no interest in meeting the couple who kept trying to have a boy and abandoned 5 daughters we know of, reminding them there could be more we don't know about who haven't used 23andMe. They feel I'm being unreasonable in this and I should at least go to meet our brother. I'm fine meeting him one day but not with them there, and he and I have been exchanging emails for now. I know they want the 5 of us to go out as a united front in this, and me not wanting to go is disheartening for them, but I honestly feel bitter about this whole situation. Not the idiot, this is a very personal trauma for you, and it's especially worse for you as the one who's the oldest and was the closest to not having a life at all because of their abandonment. I hope you and your brother form as strong of a bond as you and your sisters have. It isn't his fault your parents did this, and I hope they all come to understand your feelings and stop pushing. It's a personal decision, not a group one. Consider discussing with them now about boundaries after they meet. Do you want to hear about the meeting? Do you want them to invite you to do things with them in the future if the parents are involved? This sounds like they abandoned you all due to the OCP aiming for a son to continue the family name and the possibilities for what could happen if it was violated, but this is still horrible. There is no excuse for conceiving and abandoning 5 children. If you meet your brother, you deserve to meet him on your terms. I try writing down how you feel and then explaining it to your sisters. I'm sorry you have this trauma. Maybe I'm just a bitter person, but if I were you, I would go just to confront them in person and let them know that as far as I knew, they had no daughters and they meant absolutely nothing to me. Update. Am I the idiot for telling my biological sisters I don't want to meet our bio parents? After some pushing from my bio sisters over getting in contact with our bio parents, I don't want to fly out to meet them with my sisters, but they still want to talk to me. So, I finally consented to have a Zoom call with our bio parents as that was the most I could handle. I'll be honest, it was like a punch in the gut. I looked so much like our bio mother that it was a little startling. So, I found some answers to some important questions. Firstly, why were we abandoned? As many of you can guess, it was due to the one-child policy. They wanted a son, but there was additional internal pressure to this. My paternal grandparents had told them that if they kept a daughter, they would be cut off and not have a penny of the family's money. It's why I was abandoned so differently from my sisters. It was my paternal grandmother who took me out to be abandoned. My bio parents always assumed that I died with how she left me, so they took over the abandonment of my sisters, which is why they were left in better places. Were there any other children? Yes, one. A boy who would be 22 right now had everything gone to plan. They were going to keep him, but apparently something was wrong with him. I don't know what, and they didn't expand on that, but apparently my paternal grandfather forced them to give him up as he was ashamed. Why did they move to France? After our youngest brother was born, they finally gained financial independence from my paternal grandparents and were able to move. They were the ones that asked their son to take the test, hoping to find their other children. Where does this leave us? They were so happy to talk to me and kept going on about how they now had most of their children back and could have it all. I cut them off there and told them they didn't have us back. I expressed sympathy for what they'd been put through by my paternal grandparents, but pointed out they chose money over me and over all of us, and how they could have chosen to keep me or any of the others and make their way in life, but they hadn't. I thanked them for the call but told them I had a family already and had no further interest in speaking with them. I continued to be in contact with my bio brother, but this was all they'd get. They tried to beg me to stay on the call, but I left, and I admit I had a bit of a sob afterwards. My adoptive brothers ended up taking me out to drink afterward, and 3 of us got hammered while I vented and cried some, but it helped me work through things a lot. So, thanks everyone. I just figured you all deserved an update. I'm sorry your suspicions were confirmed. Your grandparents are horrible, evil people who deserve to rot in hell. On the other hand, I'm glad you have a real family to support you. As for your other siblings, you decide whether or not you want to have a relationship with them. Good luck with everything. Bio parents are evil too. They kept choosing to have children they abandoned till they got the right one. They can feel bad all they want. Culture, pressure, I sympathize. But they did this with all the daughters and one son who wasn't right. OP, if you choose not to be involved with your bio parents, then I feel it's for the best because at the end of the day, they did choose money over you, and what would have happened if you were never found? I know some families who would rather leave for another country than have to pick and choose a child. You are so strong and you handled this really well. You now have a true family that loves you and got the best support. Hugs and take care. I, female 36, married Jeff, male 39, 2 years ago. He has a daughter, Alicia, teen, from his previous marriage, and I have a daughter, Morgan, tween, from my previous marriage. Alicia isn't close to Morgan or me, and she always has something to be upset about. For example, when Morgan and I moved in with her and Jeff, she tried to control where we could and can't go, what areas I was allowed to redecorate and put my furniture in, what room Morgan got, etc. Her excuse was that she wanted to keep the house how her mom left it as much as possible. Her mom is healthy and alive, Alicia sees her weekly. Jeff asked us to be more patient and she'd come around eventually. She did come around, but still tries to control other areas of my and Morgan's life. I had a million conversations that ended up with her throwing a tantrum. Finally, Jeff talked to her and told her not to try to control what Morgan and I do, ever, and she agreed. Morgan's birthday was days ago. We planned to celebrate at a restaurant, let Morgan choose which one. She picked a really nice restaurant that isn't over-the-top expensive, and we agreed the party would be there. However, when Alicia heard about which restaurant we were going to, she went off on Morgan and me and said that we couldn't go to that restaurant because she had tons of memories of her perfect old family there, and she won't let us taint the memory for her. I found this beyond illogical and unreasonable. I told her she could stay home, but it wasn't about her being there. It was about the idea of Morgan and me being there with Jeff as family when it used to be her mom, and Jeff. We got into an argument, and Jeff told me to tell Morgan just to pick another restaurant. But I snapped and told him Alicia had no right to dictate where my daughter and I went, and he shouldn't be encouraging her. He told me he wasn't encouraging anything, just trying to keep all parties satisfied. He told me to get Morgan to change the restaurant or he won't go. That was it for me. I decided I wasn't going to change it just because they wanted me to, and ended up going with Morgan to celebrate with just my mom. Morgan, of course, felt upset her stepdad missed her birthday celebration. When I pointed this out to him, he argued that I gained nothing by insisting on this particular restaurant and upsetting Alicia, who is refusing to speak to any of us, even him, and ruined his relationship with Morgan. I said it was Morgan's choice, but he said I was the adult in this situation and had failed to navigate it. Am I the idiot for still going to the restaurant, although Alicia forbids us from it? I just wanted to make Morgan feel like she has a say and right to spend her birthday however she wanted. Not the idiot. Tell your husband he needs to be an adult and a parent and not let a teenager run his life. That being said, is Alicia seeing a counsellor at all? If not, it sounds like she could really benefit from some professional help. Alicia is on a power trip and trying to exert control over you and Morgan. The idea that she should be able to dictate what restaurant you and Morgan go to on Morgan's birthday is laughable to say the least. Jeff is abdicating his role as a father to placate his daughter. He either lacks the will or the courage to take her in hand. He's the one that ruined his relationship with Morgan. He chose to placate Alicia over celebrating Morgan on Morgan's birthday. He's not a good father. Agree. I'm very concerned about this kid and the parenting happening here. At that age, parents have 1, maybe 2 years left to prepare their kids for the real world. This kid does not appear to be in any way prepared for real life, and Dad is doing them active harm by not responding appropriately. Alicia is very wrong. She's mourning her perfect family. She hasn't seemed to accept that her father has moved on. It sounds like Alicia and Dad can both use some family therapy. Everyone's the idiot here. You're right that she doesn't get to dictate your life, But I don't see any empathy or consideration for a child that has had major upheavals in her life, only scorn that she's illogical and unreasonable. This isn't about logical reason, it's about a child who feels out of control, unloved and unsafe. There are lots of conflicts here and no empathy or concern. You and Jeff are adults. Act like it. I know it sounds mean, but my brother-in-law seems to be really discriminatory towards us for being a straight couple. I'm bi, but have fallen in love with the man I'm going to marry. My brother and his husband were friends with my ex-girlfriend. I'm still friends with her, she's lovely, but we didn't work together. For 5 years now, I've been dating, let's call him Jack. We've decided to marry in a few months and have been planning for a while. The wedding is not big, less than 50 total guests, and we were going to give everyone in the bridal party a +1, but no one else. The thing is, my brother is one of my bridesmen. I have a maid of honor and 3 bridesmen, and my husband-to-be has a best man and mixed-gender party. This last weekend, I went over to my family to hang out. Cousins played board games and all the adults had drinks, a typical big family hangout. But my brother-in-law had a bit too much to drink and said some crappy things. It's not the first time I've heard them, just the first time in maybe half a year. He said I was a traitor to our people for marrying a straight white man. We're white, LMAO. He said I broke up with my ex because I was ashamed of my orientation. He also was comparing my fiancée with my ex. Why would you date such an ugly man after such a pretty girl? He's so poor. You had a rich gay girlfriend. Not true, we're all middle class. Eventually, my brother took him home and my fiancée took me home. I told him the next day if he couldn't apologize to us as a couple and stop being so heterophobic, he couldn't come to our wedding. My brother is saying he was just drunk and he'll behave, and our family is backing him up and telling me to let it go. But I have yet to get an apology from brother-in-law. My brother is threatening not to be in the wedding party, and I would hate that, but I would hate including his crappy husband in my wedding more. I told my brother I'd save him a piece of cake if he didn't come. Am I the idiot for insisting brother-in-law cannot come without an apology to both my husband-to-be and me? Not the idiot, and wow, do people love to judge us for not adhering to their vision of what being queer should look like, huh? In my opinion, your brother-in-law needs to have a conversation with you and your husband in person, apologize to you both, and promise to be on his best behavior at your wedding for you to allow him to attend. He misbehaved. I think your brother will understand if you explain that his husband was hurtful and rude and that he must take steps to clear the air if he wants to attend. This isn't about heterophobia. This is about your brother-in-law saying nasty things about your soon-to-be husband and judging your relationship. Drinking too much is not an excuse. This is absolutely the hill you should die on. He's disrespecting you, your fiancé, and your relationship. And someone who thinks that has no place at your wedding. Your brother-in-law sucks for saying those things, and your brother sucks for condoning it. Not the idiot, of course. Stand your ground. So here's the deal. My sister married a black man. We're white. We had some family who was very outspoken about not liking it. She didn't invite them. Why? Because it's her day. And if the people there can't be on her side, why even come? Why even have a situation where they will say something awful to her new family? He needs to apologize and still doesn't need to be there. We were at my mother-in-law's place for dinner, and while we were talking, mother-in-law took a minute to remind us of her birthday, which will take place next week. My husband looked at me and said, "Oh, no need to get a cake, OP will take care of it." I was taken aback because, for one, I work long hours and will be too busy next week and don't even know I'll be able to attend. And two, I never agreed to make the cake, nor did I have the time or money for it since it's probably expected to be fancy. So I couldn't take it when he basically offered my service without consulting me. I looked back at him and said, "I never agreed to do such a thing. Can you tell me why I should do it? You never do anything for my mom." After that, the table went quiet and everybody looked at my husband awkwardly. Given his argumentative nature, it was strange seeing him quiet like that. Once we got into the car, he yelled about how I embarrassed and humiliated him and how I disrespected his mother at the table. I told him he was the one who offered my service, but he said that I should have agreed or shown I was on board initially and then told him my honest opinion at home and in private. We got home and he started sulking, saying he couldn't even look his family in the face after the childish crap I pulled at their house. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He put you on the spot in front of everyone. That's on him that your response was in front of everyone. He counted on you being quiet, not wanting to make a scene. Too bad for him. If you'd shown you were on board, you'd be expected to do it. If you brought it up later, he'd be asking if you didn't want to, why did you say you were on board? You were put in an awkward situation and you spoke up for yourself. That's a great point. Actually, I was leaning towards everyone's the idiot verdict because of the wording of OP's response, but yeah, he made himself look like the idiot. What was the alternative here? OP agreeing by default at the moment and then having to take it back later? That would seem even more awful, I think. You are the idiot. Your reply was rude though, because it implies you don't give a crap about your mother-in-law and would only do something for her as part of a quid pro quo. The polite response would have been, sorry, I don't have the time to make a cake this week, so I won't be able to do that. Please check with me first next time. Well, I'm not mother-in-law's biggest fan for raising such a misogynistic kid, and I'm not sure why her feeling respected should come at the cost of OP being so egregiously disrespected. Sure, she could have snuck in a line about how mother-in-law shouldn't take it personally, and she can always follow up to do that now. But OP defended herself. She reacted in anger to an angering situation, at the moment, effectively. That is an instinct that too few people have, especially women who are told to prioritize politeness over self-respect. I think that's important enough to be prioritized way above mother-in-law's hurt feelings.